In this video, I'm going to show you how I plan Hawaii vacations for first-timers. If you're new here, my name is Mariam and I work full-time as a concierge here in Waikiki. Over the past 10 years, off and on, I have worked as a concierge and planned thousands of Hawaii itineraries. I live on the island of Oahu, and I make Hawaii videos to take the guesswork out of planning your trip. I recently had a subscriber reach out to me asking for tips on how to plan their Hawaii vacation. If you've never been to Hawaii before, it can seem really overwhelming. In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how I do it. This video is for you if this is your first time planning a Hawaii vacation, or if you're the lead planner of your family or group. Let's pretend you're a first-time visitor to Hawaii, have never been here before. I'm going to take you with me through my entire vacation planning process on things that I think about towards making your Hawaii vacation as easy and worry-free as possible. I'm going to break this video up into 3 sections. Number 1, intro and planning. Number 2, reservations and suggestions. And number 3, completed itinerary. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, so this entire conversation I can usually do in about 15 to 20 minutes. The goal of the conversation is to help you get your bearings on where the hotel is located, things to do, some excursion, and to have a general game plan. The game plan gives you ideas and framework, but leaves plenty of room for spontaneity and, of course, relaxation. The idea is not to plan every single minute that you're here, but rather plan a few key things and then have options on everything else. For example, if on the phone you've told me you're a brunch person, I might also email you 3 to 4 brunch spots that are near the hotel, their menus, and their hours. Do you need to go to all those brunch places? Of course not. But if you wake up one morning and you decide you want to go to brunch, at least you have a good place to start. That way you're spending more of your time on vacation actually enjoying it, instead of wasting your time in Hawaii Googling, Yelping, researching, when all of this can be done before you even arrive. In addition to some suggestions that I'll provide that are close to the hotel, I'll typically also give you some of my favorites and a few other options depending on your specific dietary requirements. For example, if you have kids that are picky eaters, or people in the group who are vegan or require gluten-free alternatives. For this video, I'm going to say the question that I would normally ask the guests, explain my rationale for why that is an important question, and how you can apply it to your own Hawaii vacation. Let's get into it. Also, do you have any vacation planning tips? If so, comment down below. So let's take it from the top. First, you're calling your hotel and you've been asked to get transferred to the concierge. I'm the one who answers. First, I'll ask you for your contact information. What is your first name, your last name, your phone number, your email address? The phone number is specifically important, especially if we're disconnected. Often by the time you reach me, you've either called the reservation center or you've called the hotel, been transferred a couple times, and you finally reach the concierge desk. So if we've been chatting for a few minutes and we get disconnected, it can be hard for you to get back to me specifically. And that can be frustrating for anyone. So one of the first things I always ask is, again, first name, last name, your phone number, and your email address. Now, during this entire conversation, I'm telling you that I'll be taking notes, and I'll let you know that I will email you a summary of everything we talked about. Because in this conversation, we'll be going over a lot of things and a lot of information, and it's a lot to take down. This way, you know that I'm taking notes. You don't have to ask about the spelling of certain streets, the names of certain restaurants. Just know that everything we're chatting about, I will type out and send to you. For me, I do this every day. I go over places for tour pickup, restaurants, activities, things to do. So for me, it's second nature. But for someone who's never been here before, it's a lot of information. So how does this apply for you? If you're calling your hotel and speaking with your concierge, within 30 seconds, say, just in case you were disconnected, can I give you my cell phone number, and can I also get your direct phone line? This way, if you are disconnected, you have a point of contact and a way to reach that person. Next, what is the first and last name booked under the room reservation? Now, this is specifically important depending on what hotel you're staying at. So your name may be Jane, but the reservation may be booked under John or Teresa or Samantha, or anything like that. First, I'll ask for the first and last name of the room reservation because a lot of hotels have similar names. I also want to tie all my notes and reservations together so it's linked to a specific hotel room. So your name may be Jane Smith, but maybe the reservation is booked under your sister, say Teresa Thompson. So I'll put Teresa Thompson as the lead passenger because that is the person the room is booked under. Now, another reason for this is I want to make sure that you're calling the right hotel and that all of your reservations are booked with the correct pickup location if you're booking a tour or excursion. For example, there is a Hyatt Regency, a Hyatt Place, and a Hyatt Centric. That's 3 different hotels that start with Hyatt. If you're staying at Hyatt Centric and you quickly type in Hyatt in Google and it automatically tracks you to the Hyatt Regency, you've called the wrong hotel. Without double checking that the room reservation matches, it's easy to get all of your tours and excursions mixed up and rerouted to the wrong hotel. Similarly, for outrigger properties, there is a Outrigger Waikiki, an Outrigger Reef, a Beachcomber by Outrigger, and there's even outriggers on Maui, for example. If your first call was to the Outrigger Reservation Center, which, for example, may not be based in Hawaii, and they transfer you, and perhaps the person who transferred you to the wrong hotel, it's easy to mistakenly speak to the wrong hotel. Similarly, there's also 2 Hiltons. There's a Hilton Hawaiian Village, which is oceanfront, and there's also a Hilton Waikiki Beach, which is on Kuhio Avenue. Now, I'll use Hilton hotels as an example because most people are familiar with Hilton. I'll check with the front desk to make sure that you're staying at the hotel. For example, if you and I were on the phone and you had called the Hilton Waikiki Beach, I would need to confirm that you are indeed staying at the Hilton Waikiki Beach and not at their sister property, the Hilton Hawaiian Village. Now, Waikiki in general is pretty small, but in this particular example, the Hilton Waikiki Beach and the Hilton Hawaiian Village are on 2 completely opposite ends of Waikiki. This is especially important if I am booking a tour or excursion for you with a hotel pickup. So if all of your pickups were at the Hilton Waikiki Beach, for example, but you're actually staying at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, if I didn't know that you were staying at the other hotel, by the time that we figured it out, there's a chance that the shuttle pickups that you need from the Hilton Hawaiian Village might be full. Now, this is a really easy mistake to make. Oftentimes when you're staying at a property, you type the name in Google and often just click the very first one. Some hotels also have similar sounding names. For example, there's the Halekulani Hotel, which is oceanfront, which at first glance may sound very similar to the Hokulani Hotel, which is actually a block away. So how can you apply this for your vacation? So if you are calling your hotel and working with your concierge, double check that you've called the right property, and it's often helpful to have the address handy. For example, if you're calling the Outrigger Reef when you meant to call the Outrigger Waikiki, a simple question of, is this 2335 Kalakaua Avenue, can easily spot that you're actually calling the Outrigger Reef instead of the Outrigger Waikiki. Similarly, if you booked your own shuttle service or if you're using a taxi to come from the Honolulu airport to Waikiki, having the address just to double check to see which hotel you're actually staying at is also helpful so you're not dropped off at one property and then realize that you're at the wrong hotel after you've waited in a check-in line and have to get back in a taxi just to go to a similar hotel. Next, reservations. So now that I have the first and last name that's booked on the room and I've confirmed the exact hotel that you're staying at, I will use the hotel reservation name as the lead passenger name for all of your reservations. So for example, if your name is Jane Smith and you're the one that I'm primarily working with, however, it's your sister that the reservation is booked under, again, I'll put her as the lead passenger because the hotel room is linked to her name, and then in the notes I'll put that you were the main point of contact. Or depending on the tour, I might put both of your names on the reservation. So why is this important and how can you apply this to your vacation? Let's say you book a private island tour for you and your family. Let's also pretend that you're an international guest, so your cell phone only works when it's connected to Wi-Fi. Then let's say that there is a Waikiki parade or event that will shut down parts of Kalakaua Avenue, which is the main street, that can affect your hotel pickup. This can mean that your pickup would either be rerouted or it would be delayed. So the tour company tries to call you, but your phone doesn't work unless it's connected to Wi-Fi. They also try to email you, but again, same thing, you don't have access to your email unless you're connected to Wi-Fi. But if they have your hotel room number and the name that's on the reservation, the tour company could theoretically call the hotel. They'll ask for the first and last name of the lead passenger, whether or not they have the room number, and then the front desk can transfer you. So for example, if all of your reservations are under Jane Smith, but the hotel room is under John Parker, that could be a problem. But when the tour company calls the hotel looking for a Jane Smith, unfortunately, your name might not pop up. So it's important that the activity reservation lead passenger always matches the lead name on the room reservation. So for example, if the room is under John Smith, but all the tours are under Jane Richards, when the tour company calls looking for a Jane Richards, they may be told that the room isn't tied to anybody, and then that means that the tour company is unable to reach you. Now, in general, this is rare, but when you're planning your own vacation, you always want to give tour companies 3 ways to reach you: your cell phone number, your email address, and then once you find out, the hotel room number as well. So when you're planning your vacation, another thing that you can do when you're working with your concierge is just reconfirm that the phone number that is on file or the email address that is on file is correct. You never know if there was a simple typo that would mean that all of the information is going to the wrong email address or perhaps to the wrong phone number. It's always good to double check. If you're staying in Waikiki, this is particularly important. And the reason for this is because Waikiki often has quite a few parades or street festivals. Now, if you're staying at an oceanfront property, for example, a lot of Kalakaua Avenue can be shut down for parades or block festivals. And this also means that there is a lot of traffic, especially if you're trying to get to the airport or coming from the airport. Now, if I know that a block party is going to be on the same night that you arrive, I'll also try to advise you some suggestions on alternate parking if you have a rental car, or a different route that you can take. Similarly, if your flight home is departing on the same night as a block party, I'll definitely want to give you a heads up on that. That way you know to allow more time to get to the airport. Whenever this happens, most hotels will either email the guests or post signage throughout the lobby a few days before the parade or festival. But not all of them do. So this is something important to keep in mind. As we're chatting, I'll also make a note if you want to do any specific activities or visit any points of interest. So for example, if Pearl Harbor is on your must-do list, I'll definitely advise you to do that early on in your stay. And the reason for that is it can be very unpredictable when you're going to Pearl Harbor in terms of closures or any dock repair. For example, earlier in the month, mid-October, all of Pearl Harbor was shut down for the Visitor Center, the Battleship, Aviation Museum. All of that was shut down because there was a water main break. So because it was shut down, unfortunately that meant that no one could go to the Visitor Center because there was no potable water. Now, if Pearl Harbor was something on your must-visit list and you left this to the very end of your stay and you flew out the next day, you wouldn't be able to visit Pearl Harbor. Similarly, if you wanted to visit the USS Arizona Memorial, I would similarly also recommend that you visit that early on in your stay, because you never know what could happen. For example, with the USS Arizona Memorial, sometimes due to structural issues, the dock for the ferry that goes to and from the memorial, that can be under repair. If you plan Pearl Harbor early on in your trip, that means that if something were to happen with the structural issues of the dock and your tour gets rescheduled, at least you have a few more days to do that. However, if you leave Pearl Harbor to the very end of your vacation and you fly out the next day, you won't be able to go. These are just a few of the things that I'm thinking about as we're talking on the phone. I'll also leave a link in the description box below for a great resource for checking on upcoming Waikiki parades and street festivals. So if you're calling your hotel and speaking with your concierge, it might be a good idea to just reconfirm the dates that you're booked as well. This also catches any hiccups just in case you booked with a third-party site and you want to double check to make sure the dates that you think you're booked for are the dates you're actually booked for with the hotel. Better to catch it now, months ahead, than wait until you arrive only to realize your reservation is a day short. Next, I'll ask, where are you traveling from? And I'll also ask, what is your current time zone? So why is this important? If you're telling me you're traveling from Boston, for example, I know you're on the East Coast time zone, which means that you're 6 hours ahead. This time difference is really important as I plan out any tours or excursions. So again, for example, if I know you're traveling from Boston and you're on the Eastern time zone and you're 6 hours ahead, I'll make sure to plan your itinerary accordingly. So for example, I'll leave your Pearl Harbor trips that are typically early starts or suggest any hiking tours or hiking trips that you do in the early morning for the first few days of your stay. Because while 7 o'clock for a Pearl Harbor tour pickup may seem early, for you who are 6 hours ahead, 7 a.m. is really closer to 1 p.m. your local time. Similarly, I'll leave late night activities for later on in your stay. For example, if you want to visit a luau and the luau is, let's say, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Hawaii time, but I know you're on East Coast time, I'll schedule your luau for a couple days afterwards. That way you're more accustomed to the time change, because 4 o'clock Hawaii time is actually 10 p.m. Eastern time and 10 p.m. Hawaii time is actually 4 a.m. Eastern time. So I definitely don't want to plan any activities like that within the first couple days of your stay. So, story time. I recently had a guest traveling from New York who arrived at about 12 p.m. Hawaii time. As I was chatting with her, she was talking about a few activities that she was doing, and I was giving her some recommendations on places to go, things to do, and places to eat. Now, on the day of her arrival, she arrived around 12 p.m. and she told me that she actually had a luau pickup that same evening at 3:30 p.m. And the next day, she came back to me and she told me, do you know what happened? She actually fell asleep at the luau because of the time difference. So 3:30 p.m. for a luau pickup is actually 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. The luau didn't get her back to the hotel till around 10 or 10:30 at night. That's about 4 to 4:30 in the morning Eastern time. Now again, this is something really simple, but time zones and the time difference are something to make note of whenever you're planning your Hawaii itinerary. Next, we'll talk about your first full day here in Hawaii. I almost always leave your first full day here in Hawaii completely open. You never know what might happen with flight delays. While in Hawaii, it's summertime pretty much all year. Where you're flying from may be different. So for example, if you're calling the hotel and it's November or December and you tell me that you're flying in from Boston or maybe Denver, where flights can often get canceled because of snowy weather, having your first day open gives you flexibility just in case your flight is canceled or delayed. Similarly, you could have had terrible sleep on your flight and you just want the first full day to rest. Spending the first full day resting either at the pool, at the beach, in the hotel room is the perfect way to start off your vacation so you're not constantly in a sleep deficit. Likewise, if you're telling me that you're actually going to a different Hawaiian island first, let's say you are flying into Maui, staying there for a week, and then flying into Oahu, I'll know that you're already adjusted to the time change and having activities or excursions or things to do on the very first full day of your stay isn't going to be a problem. Next, I'll ask, where are you traveling to or from? So if you told me you're actually flying in from another Hawaiian island, for example, if you were staying in Maui for a week and then you're coming to Oahu, that's really important because certain things are better on other islands. For example, if you tell me you're an avid snorkeler and I know you're actually flying from Maui, I'll instead of suggesting snorkeling on our island, I'll suggest snorkeling on Maui instead. For example, on Maui, Molokini Crater is really popular for snorkeling and I might suggest doing that on Maui first, and then if you still want to snorkel more, I'll suggest other snorkeling spots here on our island of Oahu. Next, I'll ask your arrival and departure flight times. So if I know that your flight arrives at 3 p.m., but our concierge desk closes at 4 p.m., I'll make sure to send all the information and e-tickets ahead of time just in case you don't make it to the concierge desk before we close. Similarly, if you're arriving at 3 p.m., the desk closes at 4, and I know that you have a tour early morning the next day, for example, I'll want to make sure that you have all the information, e-tickets, walking maps, and everything in your email because when you're ready to go on the tour, our concierge desk won't be open. Now, the concierge desks do vary depending on what hotel you're staying at. Next, I'll ask, who are you traveling with? Now, this is particularly important if you're the lead passenger or the lead planner for your family or group. I'll make sure to get the ages of everyone. And this is important because many activities have different prices depending on ages. So for example, luau's have adult pricing, they also have teen pricing, they also have children's pricing, and they also have lap children's pricing. And with lap children, that means that the child doesn't occupy an actual seat at the luau. Instead, he or she will just sit on the lap of a parent. Similarly, some tours have age minimums. So for example, parasailing has a minimum age of 5 years old to be on the boat. Some zipline tours have a minimum age of 7. Kualoa Ranch's ATV tours has a minimum age of 21 years old to drive the ATV. And again, all these seem like really small details, but by knowing the ages of everyone, I'm better able to recommend what activities or tours to do. And similarly, if I know that there's somebody in the group who's under the age of 21 and they want to drive the ATV, knowing that they're under 21 allows me to better recommend a different tour. So for example, in the Kualoa Ranch ATV example, if you have to be 21 years old to drive and the person that's in the group who's under 21 does not want to be a passenger, I'll instead suggest the electric bike. It's a very similar route at Kualoa Ranch or the Jurassic Valley, but the age restrictions allow teenagers to drive, of course, the electric bikes instead of the ATVs. I'll also get a bit more information about the guests that are with you. So for example, for any of the guests, is accessibility a factor? Is anybody in a wheelchair? Is there anything that I need to know about any of the guests where, again, accessibility would be a factor? So for example, if I know there is a guest in the group who maybe has trouble walking long distances, I would probably not suggest a beach luau because in a beach luau, that person would be using a walker or a cane walking around the luau. Instead, I might mention the beach luau, but I'd also recommend luau's on grass or cement. That way, accessibility is less of a factor. Similarly, if somebody is in a wheelchair and they want to do a dinner cruise, I know that Star of Honolulu is the only ADA compliant dinner cruise on the island. So that way I know to suggest specific activities depending on what I'm told in terms of age and accessibility. Similarly, I'll also ask everyone's heights and weights. And the reason for this is certain tours have height or weight minimums or maximums. Helicopter tours, for example, have one price up to a certain amount, and then after that, a lot of helicopter companies will charge what is called a comfort seat, and that is half of a seat for the helicopter ride for that passenger. Similarly, some tours such as the submarine have a height minimum. You must be 36 inches tall in order to go on the submarine ride. Next, I'll ask if you're celebrating anything. Is this an anniversary trip, a girl's trip, a birthday? So if I know it's a party of two celebrating an anniversary, I can narrow down what restaurants I would recommend, as opposed to if it was a large family reunion with kids of all ages. That way I can better recommend what dining options would work best. Next is interests. So while we're having this conversation, I'll make sure to take notes on what activities you're interested in doing, the ages, all the different things about your specific party, so I can better recommend what days to do on certain things. So for example, let's say that you tell me that you want to hike Diamond Head Crater. Now, Diamond Head Crater requires a reservation. So in the email that I'll send you after, I'll also give you a link on how you can book a reservation with the state of Hawaii. Now that I have a little bit more of your interests, I'll also be able to better suggest certain things that are better to have reservations for. So for example, if I know you're going to be in Waikiki on a Friday or a Saturday night, I'll recommend specific restaurants. That way you have some options, because in general, Fridays and Saturday nights are busy in Waikiki. And yes, you can go to dinner any night of your choice, of course, but if you're going to a popular restaurant on a Friday or a Saturday without a reservation, your wait time could be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, when it's completely avoidable if you have a reservation. Now, maybe you've had a friend who's visited Hawaii in the past and they told you you don't need to book anything until you get there. The very next question I would ask is to ask that friend, what time of year did they come to Hawaii? So for example, if they were a party of two coming to Hawaii in, say, September or October, it would be considerably less crowded than if you're a family of 6 visiting Hawaii in summer season, such as June, July, and August. Now, at the time of this filming, it is October, and Waikiki is noticeably less crowded. Waikiki is crowded in general, but it is noticeably less crowded than it was in June, July, and August. I would say we probably have a third less people in the streets in Waikiki right now. And lastly, this is for my international guests. Get a SIM card. I would highly, highly recommend it. A lot of tours and excursions will often send you a confirmation text or give you updates over text. Now, the problem with not having a SIM card is that you're unable to check your texts unless you're on Wi-Fi. So I would highly recommend spending a little bit of money to get a SIM card and use that as your main phone number while you're traveling to Hawaii, especially if you're doing a lot of tours and activities. As for a short story time, I was working at the concierge desk at the hotel, and I had a guest who had booked a Pearl Harbor tour on his own. And when he had booked the Pearl Harbor tour, he didn't have a SIM card. So he was waiting at the pickup point for about an hour until finally he came back in the hotel and asked me to call the tour company. I called the tour company, and of course, the tour was completely canceled because this was the same day that the water main broke at Pearl Harbor, so unfortunately all the tours were canceled. The guest didn't have a way to be reached because his cell phone only worked whenever he was on Wi-Fi. So again, if you're planning a lot of tours or excursions, I would highly, highly recommend that you get an international SIM card to use while you're here in Hawaii. If you like this video, you might like our other itinerary ideas series. Would you like to see how I plan out itineraries for specific groups? So for example, itineraries for couples, solo travelers, groups of friends, families with older kids, families with younger kids? If so, let me know in the comments below so I know what kind of videos you guys like to see.